Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all fandoms, welcome to the Ferret and Raccoon podcast, episode 147. I am your one and only host on this podcast, the Angry Raccoon, bringing you the first podcast of August 2020. And on this episode, I kind of felt like doing something different this time around. I kind of didn't want to talk about just trailers that have been released, especially given that a lot of trailers that have been released are, in my opinion, nothing special and not really much is happening. So I've decided on this episode I'm kind of just gonna talk about things that have happened mainly over the last 2 weeks or fortnight, and I kind of want to do some different things, make some changes, and kind of see if this kind of smaller, more personal podcast is something that can be done in the future when it's more or less just me, because I have a feeling that just talking about trailers, especially things that I don't really care too much about, might not be the most exciting podcast, and I'd rather talk about something that's I guess important to me and maybe important to you guys listening at home or wherever you are. So let's see how this different structure kind of goes. I have a few different things I want to do on this podcast, but as usual, I'm going to talk about what I've been doing over the last 2 weeks in terms of, watching, playing things, doing things. And the main thing I did over the last 2 weeks, or more accurately tried to do, was I was still playing Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy. I said on the last podcast that I had beaten all three games, Crash 1, 2, 3, and Warped. And I basically only had one thing left to do, and that was to get the gold relic time trial for the level Stormy Ascent. Now, a little history with this level. This level was originally cut from the original Crash Bandicoot game because it made the game perform poorly and it was just a bit too hard, so it was cut. Vicarious Visions remade the game and put it back in the game as a sort of extra bonus level, and there were 2 trophies or achievements attached to it, and one of which was to simply just beat the level and get the clear gem, basically break every single crate, and the other was to get gold or platinum relic time. This level, in terms of it actually being a time trial, isn't actually hard. They give you more than enough time. This level is very long. It's one of the longest levels in the game, or technically not in the game if you don't want to count it as a real level. They give you, in order to get the trophy, they give you at least 4 minutes and 30 seconds to beat this level in. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter because the level is so tricky on its own that you won't be able to get there. It doesn't matter because when I was doing this time trial, I was never looking at the clock because I knew that I was going to, get it right on the money, or not on the money, but I was going to beat it in under 4 minutes 40 seconds because every time I got super close, it was always like 3 minutes 30 seconds, because I tried and I attempted this level so many times. I honestly probably put 8 hours into this level just trying to get this trophy, this golden relic. It was painful. It was maddening. It was so frustrating. Possibly one of the trickier things I've done in a video game in a long time. It was rough. I mean, I don't even want to get into words. I almost have like nightmares just thinking about this level. If you've never seen this level, go look it up. Or go look up a Rage compilation of people trying to play this level, or play this level for yourself, and you'll understand. Because it's tough enough as it is. It's a level in which eventually I got so good at it that I was just doing it flawlessly, and it was just like the last few sections where I was failing. And I think most people fail at the section, and I don't want to spoil the level, but they fail at the 3 birds. And you'll know what I mean because there is some funny hitboxes going on with those birds. I can't even tell. You have to jump on their heads, but you will basically jump on them and you will barely touch them, and it's weird. I don't know if the game developers were trying to make it more lenient or they were trying to make it more difficult. I do not know, but there was some BS going on in that level. It was so tricky, it was so random. I died everywhere, I encountered so many glitches, but eventually I did beat the level and I got gold relic. So now I have completely 100%ed all 3 games. I'm ready for Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. I'm so happy. I captured the moment. It's done. I'm never doing that level again. And that was my stress over the last 2 weeks. But to be fair, I did it over the course of a couple of days. I took breaks, days worth of breaks. But I'm so glad it's finally done. Never again. But let's talk about what happened over the last fortnight. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I just kind of talk about life for the most part. And the first thing I want to talk about is if you live in England, which I'm sure maybe most of you might do, but if not, England/London has had some seriously hot weather over the last couple of weeks. Mainly, actually, in matter of fact, since I did the last podcast, it's been pretty hot for almost 2 weeks consecutively. It's been ridiculous. Since the ends of July and the beginning of August, it's been reaching 34 to 35 degrees or 92 to 93 Fahrenheit, which is record-breaking for this country because usually our summer is non-existent. We might get a sunny day, it might be sunny, but it won't be hot to the point where you can actually feel it. It is ridiculous. But funny enough, I've actually been sleeping pretty good in this heat. I haven't been sleeping under the covers, of course, but it's been fine. I've not really had any issues come nighttime. Even those nights when it's still hitting about 28 degrees, I've been sleeping perfectly fine, and my room gets really hot. But I'm using a fan, I'm using ice, I'm staying as cool as possible. Even right now, I'm recording in my room, and it's not too bad, but then again, it's very early in the morning, so if I was recording this at 3, I'd be panting and I'd be out of breath because it's just so humid. But it is interesting, though, that a lot of the weather, or the real issue I have with this weather, is this really ugly, hot wind that blows in the afternoon. You get it for a couple of hours, and it makes me feel so sick and uncomfortable because it doesn't feel right. Maybe it's that I'm not used to hot weather. I've lived in this country pretty much my whole life, so to those of you who are out there enjoying the sunlight, please be careful. COVID-19 is still a threat. It still can get you, so please keep distance and don't stay on the sun too long because you will get cancer. But it's pretty interesting. And it's been crazy as well that it's been so hot, I should say, actually, that the floors in my kitchen and my bathroom have actually been warm. I've literally put my feet down on the floor and been freaked out as to how hot it is. It is ridiculous. But kind of staying with hot weather and something else I did go out and actually met up with Ferret, yes, the co-creator of this podcast. I'm sure some of you who may be new listeners might not have maybe heard Ferret, but he is a good friend of mine. He is the other half of this podcast. And in case you're wondering, we are still friends. I know there's a weird misconception that if you're not seen with, let's say, someone you did videos with or whatever, then you guys are not friends or you had a falling out. No, me and Ferret have always been friends. It's just a matter of things just not working out and him doing things and all that kind of stuff. But I've been meeting up with him. I met up with him actually on the hottest day of the year so far, which was quite the experience. And he's honestly doing pretty good. He's doing well. He's alright. He's a lot happier with what he's been doing and what he's done, and I'm happy for him. And hopefully, before the end of the year, I'd like to get him on the podcast. But other than that, I am going to be hopefully meeting up with him very soon. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it was just nice to see a friend in person. The only other person I've seen in person has been Ace, and that was an absolute pleasure to be in his company. But yeah, it's been interesting. Sticking with stuff that happened over the last 2 weeks, quite recently actually, and still quite relevant, is the game Fall Guys. Being at the moment a PC and PS4 Battle Royale game that has essentially been an overnight success. This game came out of nowhere, and in a few days it seems like everyone is playing it. You go on YouTube, Twitch, everyone is playing it. It's the number one most popular, most played game right now, which is understandable because I've seen the gameplay. It looks like a fun, silly game. I want to get in on the action. And it's quite interesting because a lot of people are playing the game and want to play this game and are trying to play this game because so many people want to play it. And the game servers are in, as they've put it, maintenance mode because some people straight up just can't play it. It's quite ridiculous, but it's understandable. No matter how much you prepare, no matter how much money you put into something, you will never ever be able to predict just the sheer mass of what's going to happen. It happens all the time. And I'll be fair to them, the studio behind them. I can't remember the name of them, but they're doing the best they can, and they're actually communicating, unlike some studios and developers who are they'll just throw out a stupid comment and just, forget about it or whatever. But it's quite interesting. And I gotta say, what a great idea. A platforming battle royale. And you know what, good on Devolver Digital for picking up this game and, publishing it as another great game in their back catalogue. If you're not aware of Devolver Digital, they have some pretty iconic games, from Hotline Miami to Enter the Gungeon, all the way to, what is the other game I like? Oh, the Shadow Warrior remake, which is having its third game coming out pretty soon. They've got quite the back catalogue, and I'm just happy that they've got another success on their hands, because I know a lot of people consider them quite indie, but it's nice to see them kind of in the mainstream once again, because a lot of the games they publish and a lot of the people they work with always do a pretty good or interesting job. And I'm just going to tell you right now, this year, or at least in the last couple years, it's the comeback of the platformer. I mean, you have games like Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, you have Had in Time, you have Celeste, all these games that came out around about 2017 of up to right now, these new contenders in platforming. Then you have like other newer stuff that's come out this year, such as New Super Lucky's Tale, which got released on PS4. You've also got Crash 4, It's About Time, coming out later this year. Although it's not really a platformer, I kind of count it kind of in the same vein. You have the Destroy All Humans remake. You have SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, which is another very beloved platformer, get a remake and people enjoy it, as well as a few other things that are coming out. It's going to be the year of the platformer. I can see a lot more platformers coming out and obviously doing well and being profitable. All I have to say, well, I've got a little discussion I want to save with Ace, but all I'm going to say is we're going to see a nice renaissance of platformers, which I think is pretty good. And I mean, given Fall Guy's popularity and given its success right now, I don't want to be like a sheep and just jump on the bandwagon, but I kind of want to give this game a try. It's technically free if you have PlayStation Plus subscription, so I might give it a shot, even if it's just for a couple days, or put it down or whatever. But I'll let you guys know if it's any good when I do play it. But let's move on to some news stories and topics. I don't really have any trailers really to talk about, just like some pretty fun and interesting stuff to mention. And the first thing I want to mention is the fact that Animal Crossing New Horizons has, as of right now, sold over 22 million copies, which is a really, really big deal. It makes it one of the best and most successful selling games of this year. It's not necessarily the most successful game on the Switch. That still goes to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't know if it's... And it's also, I'd imagine it's done tremendous numbers for Nintendo in terms of Switch sales. I believe the Switch has surpassed over 60 million or units sold, which is a pretty big deal. This is all a big deal. And even more impressive is the fact that it has outsold every single PS4 exclusive, which is amazing, because the most successful PlayStation exclusive is Uncharted 4, which I think has sold 16 million copies. So Nintendo, Animal Crossing has just blown it out the park. And I'll be honest, I haven't played Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I've watched gameplay. It looks fun, it looks relaxing, it looks like the kind of game I think everyone needs in this very stressful and unpredictable life. But that's pretty crazy, and I honestly kind of feel like there's a little bit of like justice has triumphed, as people have talked with their wallets, which is what you should do. If you don't like a game practice, or you don't like something in a game, talk with your wallet. Don't buy it. Buy another game instead. And they have bought the better or good game, unlike certain games, or a certain game that is a sequel that is released this year, which I'm glad more people have not supported, because there is so much wrong with that game, and it isn't just the story. But other than that, let's actually stick with Sony for a little bit, and let's very briefly talk about Sony's State of Play for the 6th of August 2020. they kind of showed off some stuff I've already seen, but the main thing that I was hyped for, obviously, was them showing more on Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. It's my most anticipated game as of right now. And of course, I was super ecstatic the moment I saw it appear on the live stream, and I was just so happy with everything they've shown off. Now, we've technically already talked about Crash Bandicoot 4, so I'm not going to massively go into every single detail, but I am very pleased about everything they've shown off so far. Just a quick summary, although I will put the trailer, a gameplay overview or trailer in the description, download link, as well as the whole state of play live stream. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with everything they've shown off. I was super happy with the fact that they are including more unlockable skins. I think that's a really great idea. More platformers, once again, going back to platformers. More platformers incorporating a great and new kind of sense of collectibles, which is skins, unlock cosmetic, character costumes. I think it mainly kind of started or became more of a thing come like Rayman Legends, Rayman Origins, and obviously you had Mario Galaxy. New Super Lucky's Tale has you change costumes as well, and then obviously within Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, tons of unlockable skins that you can unlock. And so it makes sense that this game do the same. The skins they've shown off so far look hilarious and great, and it is just a fantastic idea. I just want to see more. I think that is definitely one box checked. Also, the fact that they did mention the fact that Coco Bandicoot is a playable character, and the fact that she's going to have more of a prominent role in the story, which I think is a good idea. I can understand maybe in the first 3 games, obviously she was just, another character you could play as, but I do feel like in the later games that were very mishandled, they never knew what to do with Coco. She was just there, which is a shame because she's a great character. You might as well use the character if you have them there. Also, you can play as Neo Cortex, which has already been shown off as well. They confirmed you can play as Dingodile, who was a former villain. I guess he's no longer a villain in this game. Nice bit of variety, as he is more of it's almost like a shooter or a third-person shooter to some extent. He's using like a cannon to suck up things and blow things, and you can kind of like hover. I think that's a really cool idea, and hopefully more playable characters to come in the future. It was also worth pointing out as well in the trailer, they said no microtransactions, which is interesting because they've stated that in voice and video recording. So Toys for Bob, Activision, all the fans are going to hold you on that. There should be no microtransactions in this game. And my hope and my guess is that people didn't like the fact that they added microtransactions into Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I think also people don't want microtransactions anyway. I don't think microtransactions made a lot of money in that game regardless. And also, it just seems weird to have a platformer have microtransactions when no other platformer that I can think of has microtransactions. Besides, they have a Crash Bandicoot mobile game, which will have microtransactions, which I guess makes sense. And also, maybe Activision doesn't want to be the bad guys like EA and make a complete mess of microtransactions loot boxes. Maybe they're just like, hey, we're going to make millions anyway on the game sold. So there's no point of making an extra 200,000 on microtransactions, just taking advantage of children. So that is my main hope for this whole situation with microtransactions. What else did they show off that was really cool? Just the world looks great. I think the whole game looks great. Oh, that's the other thing I mentioned real quick. The inverted mode, which is a nice new, I guess, extra difficulty in which the levels will be in like a new different art style / filter, which adds a new level of difficulty. And they're kind of hard to explain. Like one example is one world is completely, like blank, it's white, and you have to spin to add color to it. I thought that's a great concept. I think in the future level, it looks like you're underwater and it looks all hazy and weird, and there's other like Photoshop like filters and that. I think that's a really cool idea to add so much replay value and so much more, because you already know there's going to be a trophy to beat all the levels in that kind of inverted mode, which just adds a whole nother level, and just basically means that this is probably going to be the kind of game that even once you, let's say, initially beat it, if you can, that you're going to be playing it for months on end if you want to 100% everything. and I would imagine they're probably going to put skins behind so many challenges. Like, my guess with the whole skins, because I mean, I know I'm hyping over the skins, but it's one of my favorite concepts in collectibles because it actually does something. But my guess is you get a skin for beating the world, you get a skin for getting every trophy, you get a skin for doing all the time trials, and then a skin for doing this. So I'd imagine it's going to be bragging rights when you go on live stream and you have the skin that means you 100% of the game. Bragging rights are coming back as well. But enough about Crash Bandicoot. Let's move on to one of the last sections of the podcast, which is something new I'm going to do. And I'm going to see if it's going to work. Mainly because I know I barely have an audience on this podcast. But I'm going to ask it anyway. And maybe kind of answer it anyway. But I've got a question. And my question is, why is it that when I need to be saving money, all these games start getting released? Now, I know that question or statement is very first world problem, and I will admit that it's first world problem, but it just honestly feels like this year, other than the obvious, so many games that I want and that other people want have been releasing. So for example, just over the last couple of weeks or months, Cuphead has been released on PS4, which I want to get. I'm so glad it's on PS4. Then you have Limited Run Games, who are always releasing physical copies of games that have been most wanted or maybe getting re-released or have only been digital. They've got a physical copy of Guardiana, I believe that's how you say it, the HD collection, both 1 and 2 on Switch, as well as Samurai Jack Battle Through Time on physical, as well as a few other games they're hinting at. Also, over on Special Reserve Games, who is another company that releases physical copies of games, they're going to be releasing Hotline Miami 1 and 2 individually on PS4 on disc, which I have to have. And then you got other things as well, like some mentioned games like the Stereo Humans remake, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom remake, New Super Lucky's Tale. You got a couple other physical releases that I really want coming out, such as Untitled Goose Game, which comes out in September. No Straight Roads, which is another smaller game I want to get as well. And it just feels like as well that so many people are selling off like these rare or wanted games on eBay. I'm looking every single day at these games made by Limited Run Games and other people when it's like, oh, I need that for my collection. And it just kind of feels like, what's going on right now? I mean, I understand that film or the film industry is non-existent right now, but is it because of the lack of television and film that there's more games or I'm noticing them? Or is it just a weird coincidence? I mean, you could be cynical and just go, hey, it's these companies wanting more money, and at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with you making money if you're honest about it. But I don't know. Is anyone else struggling to buy all these games? Is it just me? Am I just being a first world problem baby? Let me know. You can email me if you have any kind of answers or solutions at raccoonplusfriends@gmail.com. You can hit me up on my Twitter at Angry Raccoon. It's just one C in the raccoon. All my links will be in the description and download link. And I guess let's move on to the final thing we got to talk about, which is the video of the episode, and that is going to be Action Bronson with Latin Grammys. Perfectly timed song, given that this song has a really nice flow and a very summery, tropical vibe to it. Action Bronson, I think he's kind of a very underrated rapper, and I do like in this video, he's very tongue-in-cheek. My boy's been working out, he's been getting strong, getting healthy, which a lot of people have been doing, so I think it's a very relevant and funny music video for people to enjoy, and I think the song already has a lot of very great quotables. I think literally the first line, not to spoil too much, has the phrase, you make moves to get to the sex, I just flex. Great stuff. It should tell you everything you need to know about Action Bronson if you've never heard him before. But that's pretty much going to wrap up this podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this slightly different take on a podcast. If you do, please let me know. Email, Twitter. download link, description, everything's there. And I might do these again, just like more just chatting about things as opposed to just talking about another generic trailer for the most part. But the few things I did talk about, I will put in the download link in the description. If you want to see that Crash trailer, if you want to see the article about Animal Crossing and that, you can go do so. But I guess I'll end this podcast like I always do by saying I was the Angry Raccoon, and I will see you on the next podcast.